This episode is powered by Poddex.
Thank you for tuning in today. You are now listening to That Will Never Work podcast with your host, Maurice Chisholm. Hey everybody. We are wrapping up this series. We really are. I have had fun. Again, I said to y'all last episode, I've learned a lot about myself, and I'm hoping that you are doing the same thing as we're going through this process of learning together, of building together, of creating together, of educating together. You know, one of the things that I have mentioned to y'all in the past is understanding my value and what I mean in that. So as we are building our brand, do we truly understand the value that we offer to our customers, to our sponsors, to our selves? Ultimately, do we understand the value? And so sometimes people think about value in the terms of money, right? So I know I can speak for myself. I have not reached my financial goal as of yet. I'm constantly working on it, thinking about it, so forth and so on. But when I am alone in my room, I get a little disappointed. I get a little frustrated. I beat myself up for not reaching that financial goal or reaching the mountaintop. More especially when I look at all those that's around me, and there appears to be, people walking around with stacks of money, if you will. And I know how that is perceived. That's not always perceived in a positive light. But, when you have bills and you have goals and aspirations and kids in school and things like that, sometimes you just wish you have a larger sense of that resource readily available for you, right? And a lot of times we get frustrated in that and not understanding that our value or our equity is actually worth more than what you can count in the bank account. Maurice, what do you mean by that? Sometimes we have we discount our level of connection with individuals, our friendship, our customer service, our relationships with one another. Is one piece of value that we do not hold in high esteem. And we should really consider this as a valuable aspect of our lives in creating our brand. And in that, are you treating your clients as clients, or are you treating them as partners? Are you treating your sponsors as partners? Are you treating your partners really as partners? Or, do you have such an air about you where you feel as though everybody is beneath you? Sometimes that, and I've come across individuals that's like that, where they feel like you are beneath them because you have not reached where they are perception wise, but not understanding that, hey, your equity or your value is worth way more than what it means to be on this piece of paper. I had watched a movie not too long ago. He was called The Godfather, and it was a gentleman who was in the music business, and his even though he was not worth millions and millions and millions of dollars that people thought he was worth, but the ability for him to maneuver within the music industry, put people together that probably should never have been together, creating deals and situations and calming down fears and stopping people from destroying themselves, because he has such a relationship with them, and his reputation meant a whole lot more to individuals than really what he was worth from a financial perspective. Now, that's not to say that the finances are not important. That does equal into your value that does equal into your equity. But that's not the only thing that brings you success, or you're measured by success. Your relationships are heavily valued. And sometimes people don't believe me, right? In me saying that I value the friendship. Well, let me put it into perspective. Not too long ago, let's say it's 2022, so probably back in 2015, I had offered an organization for an entrepreneur program, right? And with that entrepreneur program, they were going to have classes presented by CEOs. And so these CEOs were going to offer the community classes on how to become entrepreneurs, how to build up their resume, everything from HVAC to accounting to writing a book to cooking it was a whole lot of things. So I had 13 CEOs that were going to offer free classes based off of my relationship with them. So let me ask you this. Was it based off of how much I had in the bank, or was it based off of my relationship with them and trying to put not just myself, but even them in the most positive light possible by, one, helping the community, and even helping them to understand, like, you know what, as you're teaching these individuals, how do they help you out in one way or the other? So I encourage each and every one of you to understand what it really means to build up your equity or your value for your organization, for yourself as you're building this brand. It's not always financial. A lot of times we look at the financial again, but the relationships are important as well. That's one of the things that helps us to get to move forward. Some people hurt relationships in some cases, right? They get to a certain point and they're like, well, look, I don't need you anymore. I need somebody else moving forward. But, they say all the time, don't forget the little people, right? Don't forget about the people that you stepped on and whatever else, because a lot of times those individuals that you might have wronged, you may have to revisit them later on down the line. So let's put in perspective that there is value in understanding your connection with others, right? Understand that just because your company can now offer services on a premium level does not mean 3 years from now, when those premium level clients are now no longer working with you or for you, you might have to go back to where you started off. You might have to go back to where you began. Understanding your connection with these individuals are key. You cannot forget anybody. Now, does that mean that you have to work with them 100% of the time? No. People do grow. Just like in regular relationships, people can grow and they grow apart, things like that. But when it comes to business, understand what your core values were when you started, and then as you progress along, understand that they don't change but so much. They do change. They can change. But if that core value is building relationships, don't forget those relationships. Now, in my experiences, people that I have tried to create relationships with, we've grown apart like anyone else. We see things differently. Our lives have taken us in two totally different directions. But the one thing I have to say is that, for myself, I very, very rarely have a situation where I cannot talk to an individual again based off of my relationship with them. That doesn't mean it hasn't happened, but it's not very, very, very often. So, unless, we're talking about, when you're a kid, you're immature and, you don't know what you're saying out your mouth. But as an adult, there's not too many situations where I cannot go back and talk to an individual. So let's keep that in mind as we move forward. Let's build our relationships, understand that value with our connections, and continue to grow together.
Loved what you've heard on this week's episode? Well, the answer is simple. It would mean the world to us if you could head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review and feedback. Spreading the word really is the best way to grow our podcast and achieve even greater things. Thank you.